It's Halloween, and to celebrate we have a spooky jack-o'-lantern. So let's see how we set this up. I'm going to start with the texture first as we listen to generic Halloween stock music. So the first thing I'm going to do is block out different areas of the texture, different basic colors. So we're going to have a green color for the stem. We're going to have a dark orange for the outside of the pumpkin, and we're going to have a light orange for the inside of the pumpkin. And we're also just going to need a little bit of black, so for the dark inside. Next, I'm going to add some details from a drawing that I made and scanned. Alright, I'm going to darken the edges of some of these islands by painting black around the edge and then blurring it. Alright, I think that should be all we need. I'm going to go in the blender and model a little pumpkin section. I don't know what the technical term for that is, but we're going to make one and then duplicate it to go all the way around. Alright, I'm going to set up a material here so that we can preview what the texture looks like on the model. Don't waste too much time setting up materials in Blender though, because material properties in Blender pretty much don't import into Unity, so you'll just be wasting your time. And now we're just going to take this segment and duplicate it a few times to get a whole quarter of a pumpkin. We're going to join the three pieces together, and then we're going to merge the vertices that are close together. Alright, now I'm going to apply the rotation, and I'm going to use the mirror modifier to turn this quarter of a pumpkin into a full pumpkin by mirroring it on two axes. I'm going to pull some vertices at the top here to make a stem and come out the top. And once we're done with that, we want to UV map it to the correct part of the texture, the part that looks like the stem. Alright, now let's carve a face on this jack-o'-lantern. Using the knife tool in Blender, it's very similar to carving a real jack-o'-lantern actually. We just draw the face. Directly onto the surface. Then we just delete the triangles that we cut out. Now we're going to add some thickness using the extrude feature in Blender. So we're going to extrude the geometry. Then we have to UV map the new geometry to the part of our texture that looks like the inside of the pumpkin, the light orange color. Now we're going to cap off the holes in our model and map that geometry to the black part of the texture. And I managed to create this entire model in only about 2 hours, which is pretty good. Now I'm going to bring it into Unity. I'm going to create a folder for it and put the texture and my exported FBX file into that folder. And whoops, that's way too big. We'll have to scale it down. With the ambient occlusion, it almost looks okay without the texture. But I'm going to add the texture now. I'm going to set up a material using my custom shader, which I've been using throughout the project. And it's glowing like it's radioactive, so we'll have to dial that back. So that looks pretty good, but it's going to look really silly in July when it's nowhere close to Halloween and you're playing the game, right? So we're going to write a script called Holiday Activator, and the idea is all of the holiday items are going to be deactivated, and we're only going to activate them when it's the week before Halloween. Alright, so we're going to add a space where you can specify a date range, a beginning date and an end date, and also a game object to activate or deactivate. We're going to use C#'s date-time format, so we need to parse whatever text that we type into the blank, convert it into a date. So the current datetime is stored in a member called datetime.now. So we'll check if datetime.now is equal to or greater than begin date, and also less than or equal to the end date. And if that is the case, then we'll activate the game object. It's a really simple script. So now I'm going to create a game object called Halloween Stuff we can use to store all of our Halloween decorations. So I'm going to make the pumpkin the child object of that object, and then I'm going to make an object called Holiday Activators where we can put all of our decorations for every holiday. So then we'll deactivate Halloween Stuff, and when I deactivate Halloween Stuff, you see the pumpkin disappears because it's no longer active. Now it occurs to me as I go in to type in the begin and end date that in order for this to be a valid date, you have to specify the month, day, and year. But we don't want to specify a year because we want this to work every year. So that means I'm going to have to make a change in the script. What I'm going to have to do is set up the script so that it can figure out what year it is and include that in a date so that the user doesn't have to type it in. So let's imagine I only type in the month and the day, so the computer needs to add the year. So we'll do datetime.now .year, and then we convert that to a string. And we do that the same for both dates. Okay, so you see I have 10/24 for the begin date and 10/31 for the end date, and today is the 25th. So we should see a pumpkin, and uh-oh, no dice. This is how scripting always goes. It never works properly the first time, so we have to go to our console and see what the error message is. And it's not a valid date, so let's take a look and see what we got. Alright, and I see what the problem is already. We're missing a slash because it's 10/24/2021. Now let's check it out. Oh, there it is. The pumpkin is activated. Okay, so as I'm recording this, it is the 25th of October, so it's between 24 and 31. Just for fun, why don't we go into the system and we'll pretend like a whole month has passed, and now it's instead of October? What if it's November? And look, the pumpkin is gone. Halloween is over. So there we have it, the spooky jack-o'-lantern that only comes out on Halloween. Of course, using the system computer clock, people can fiddle with it and make it Halloween whenever they want. But that's okay. That's all part of the fun.